We had already shown something like almost now 8 years ago. One can use a CO2 laser-based system for detection of chemical warfare agents. What's wrong with a CO2 laser-based system? It weighs 175 pounds. A soldier can't carry it. What you want is something much lighter. And so that is the reason why we had a very large program with DARPA to convert the CO2 laser-based system into a quantum cascade laser-based system. So the system that we put together is shown here. This is for sniffer kind of sniffer applications. Tunable quantum cascade laser, a photoacoustic cell for very sensitive detection, drive electronics, and that's all you need. So by tuning the QCLs over the spectral region that you want, you can detect whatever you want to do. One thing I've forgotten to mention, which is when we talk about chemical warfare agents, the levels at which you want to detect are typically in the tens of parts per billion. You're going to detect chemical warfare agents in real environment, in this room or in urban environment or even a battlefield environment, which means there are going to be a lot of interference present. On a battlefield, you will have diesel fumes, you will have gunpowder smoke, you will have dust, you will have anything that you can think of. So the idea, how do you detect very small amounts of what you're looking for in presence of this very broadly dispersed interference? What you need is a broadly tunable laser, and which is what a QCL does, which is what a QCL is. And that's what makes QCLs incredibly important for chemical warfare agent and other detection activities that you may have. As I mentioned earlier, one QCL covers, a high power QCL covers only about half a micrometer of tuning range. So you need multiple lasers to cover, let's say, from 7 micrometers to 11 micrometers. Here is a system which is shown, consists of 4 QCLs, tunable QCLs at 4 different wavelengths. Light output from each one of these is combined and directed by a galvanometer mirror that selects only one of these wavelengths to go into the photoacoustic cell of the type that you saw on the previous slide. It's controlled by the computer so that you can tune across the region from 7 to 11 microns to give you the spectral characteristics that you're looking for. The whole system can be very neatly packaged. I wanted a 20-pound system. We never got to 20-pound system, but it's a 40-pound system. Still is a factor of 4 lighter than a CO2 laser-based system. And here are some of the very critical data that show that one can detect chemical warfare agents at the very, very low levels that you want. In Santa Monica, we are not allowed to use sarin or any other chemical warfare agents. You can't bring them in, but you can use what are called simulants, things that look like it, have similar properties, but are non-toxic. So in this particular case, we looked at DMNP, dimethylphosphonate. It's a surrogate for VX. It's one of the chemical warfare agents. On the left-hand side, you see the measured output from the device, from the system that I had shown on the previous slide, as a function of wavelength. This is around 9.5 microns. Blue curve is laboratory data obtained at high pressures, and the dots that you see there, red dots, are measured data at a level of 100 parts per billion of DMNP. So it's clear that we are detecting DMNP. An important question to ask is how effectively this scheme prevents our measurements from being contaminated by interference. So the right-hand slide shows what is called a receiver operation characteristic. Those of you who are as old as I am probably know what radar is, and people from radar know what receiver operational characteristic is. It's distinguishing real target from interference. What you see here is the false alarm rate plotted as a function of alarm level that you set for detection of DMNP. Let's look at only blue curve. What that shows is that at a capability of detection of 2 parts per billion, alarm will go off at 2 parts per billion, your false alarm rate is roughly 10 to the minus 8. This is in presence of Santa Monica air, which is polluted, just taking air from outside by the roadside. And so it's a polluted air. In a typical urban environment, you have an incredibly sensitive and incredibly selective detection of chemical warfare agents using quantum cascade lasers. At the bottom part of the slide shows what are the allowed exposure to sarin for 1 minute. Lethality is 17 ppm. Incapacitation is roughly 12 ppm, and meiosis, which is the first level at which you begin to feel that you get an uncomfortable feeling, that is 170 parts per billion. What we have shown here is that the system has a capability of providing almost 2 orders of magnitude better sensitivity than what one would need, and even under the worst circumstances that one can imagine. One can use the same system for detection of explosives. Green is the absorption characteristic of TNT. Red is the absorption characteristic of triacetone triperoxide. It's a homemade explosive. Anybody can make this explosive by mixing 2 ingredients, commercially available. And the blue curve is one of the ingredients that goes into making TATP, acetone. But what I show here is that you can detect not only explosives, but you can also detect the precursors for these explosives, so that one can, before the explosive is made, you can detect that somebody is trying to do something unsavory. The same system is used for many other detection of many other toxic industrial chemicals and other chemicals. I show here on this slide benzene, another of these simulant, DMM, and a long list of detection of simulants, toxic industrial chemicals at parts per billion level, benzene, dimethyl methylphosphonate, all the way down to isopropyl alcohol and methyl alcohol. So it's a very broadly applicable system for very low level detection in presence of interference. This is all good and well. If I have a sniffer, if there is a danger here, I can measure. But I really, more often than not, you don't want to get close to a danger. For example, improvised explosive devices. Recall the movie Hurt Locker. There is always a danger getting close to a suspicious object. What you want to be able to do is to look at this object, do something, interrogate it from a distance, safe enough distance, so that your life is not in danger or lives of anybody else is not in danger. So one of the important things was to do to see if one can create laser-based systems for standoff detection of explosives.